If Blender keeps crashing during Eevee renders, especially on a GTX 1650 or another lower VRAM card, the good news is that this is usually fixable. In today's video, I'm going to show you the most effective ways to stop Eevee render errors in Blender, reduce GPU stress, and get your scene rendering smoothly again. These fixes are especially helpful if Blender freezes on compiling shaders, crashes during lighting calculations, or fails when using heavier Eevee next settings. And if this video helps, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Blender tutorials just like this. Alright, let's jump in. First, let's talk about the biggest reason Eevee crashes. Eevee is a real-time renderer, which means your GPU has to do a lot of work very quickly. If the scene has too many shadows, too many lights, heavy shader effects, or large textures, your graphics card can run out of breathing room. When that happens, Windows may assume the GPU has frozen and force the driver to reset. That's one of the most common causes of an error during Eevee render in Blender. The first fix is to increase the TDR delay in Windows. TDR stands for Timeout Detection and Recovery, and it controls how long Windows waits before deciding your GPU has stopped responding. If Blender is taking longer than that during a heavy Eevee frame, Windows can kill the driver even though your system is still working properly. To change this, open the Start menu and search for Registry Editor. Right-click it and run it as Administrator. Then navigate to HKEY_LOCAL_MACHINE, then System, then Current Control Set, then Control, and finally Graphics Drivers. In that folder, right-click in the empty area, choose New, then DWORD 32-bit value. Name it TDR Delay, and set the value to 10 using decimal. That gives your GPU more time to finish processing before Windows interrupts it. After that, restart your PC so the change takes effect. Now let's move into Blender and reduce the pressure on Eevee itself. Open your project and go to the Render Properties panel, which is the camera icon on the right side of the interface. If you're using Eevee Next or a newer version of Blender, you may notice that certain lighting and shadow features are much heavier than before. Start by lowering shadow quality, reduce the max steps if that option is available, and also lower the shadow resolution whenever possible. High shadow detail can be extremely expensive, especially in scenes with multiple lights or large environments. If ray tracing is enabled in your Eevee settings, that can also make the GPU workload much heavier. On lower VRAM cards, you should reduce the ray tracing resolution scale to 0.5 if the option is available. This lowers the amount of detail Blender has to calculate while still letting you preview the effect. You may also want to reduce render samples. In many Eevee scenes, 64 or 128 samples is enough. Higher sample counts can help quality, but they also increase render time and can push your GPU too far if the rest of the scene is already demanding. The next fix is very important if your scene uses lots of textures. High-resolution textures can absolutely crash Eevee on a 4GB card. If you're using several 4K images in one scene, your VRAM can fill up fast. To solve this, go to Render Properties again and open Simplify. Enable Texture Limit, then set it to 2048 or even 1024 if your scene is still unstable. This tells Blender to downscale textures during the render, which saves memory and helps prevent those sudden Eevee crashes. This is one of the simplest and most effective fixes for scenes that look fine in the viewport but fail during rendering. Another common issue is a corrupted shader cache. If Blender gets stuck on compiling shaders, or if the crash happens right when you switch to rendered view, the cache may be causing the problem. To clear it, press Windows +R on your keyboard, type %appdata% and press Enter. From there, go into the local folder, then Blender Foundation, then Blender, then Cache. Delete the files inside that cache folder. Don't worry, Blender will rebuild them automatically the next time you use rendered view or load the scene again. The first rebuild may take a minute, but it often fixes strange Eevee errors that come from broken cached shader data. If you want a few extra stability tips, try keeping your scene lighter overall. Reduce the number of overlapping lights, avoid unnecessary volumetrics, and simplify reflective surfaces where you can. Large transparent objects, complex node networks, and high-resolution baked effects can all make Eevee much harder to run on limited hardware. If you're using a GTX 1650 or similar GPU, small optimizations can make a big difference. So to recap, if you get an error during Eevee render in Blender, first increase the TDR delay, Then reduce shadow and ray tracing settings, lower texture limits, and clear the shader cache. In most cases, one or more of these steps will stop the crashes and get your render working again. If this video helped you out, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more Blender fixes, beginner tutorials, and practical workflow tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.